Hey there, this is Therese Skelly, and I am so excited that you are going to be listening to an episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. Do you like those two words? Fiercely Brilliant. My hypothesis is that you are here for a reason. We all are. Our souls have led us on journeys that have very often taken some twists and turns, and sometimes it's not pretty. Sometimes there's struggle and there's loss and there's challenge, and in the middle of that, there's always a way out. And it's those times that often lead us into our great life and work. So you're going to hear stories in these episodes of myself and other beautiful people that share the journey. They share how they got to the place where they're standing, working in their brilliance, and being the powerful leaders that they are. So stay tuned and enjoy this episode. Hey, this is Therese Skelly, another episode of the Fiercely Brilliant podcast. And oh, gang, you are in for such a treat today. I get to be with Jenn Beninger. I get to share her with you. She has an amazing story, is a light in the world, and is doing great work. So I am so delighted that you're with us. Thank you, Jenn.
I am so excited to be here, Therese. Thank you so much. And thank you for those of you who are listening today. And I'm really setting the intention that this touches you in some way and gives you some hope and inspiration in your life.
Those are the exact words I say about my podcast, and we didn't talk about that. Hope and inspiration. We're vibing, girl. All right. So, of course. So tell us today what you do and what you love about it.
Absolutely. So I run a company called Genius Unlocked Coaching Institute, and we are a coach certification and personal development company for all types of entrepreneurs. So whether you're a coach or you have coaching is something that you do, or you want to be coached. And what I totally love about it is it allows people to tap into what is inside of them, how source sees them, so that they can uncover those different identities that might be suppressed from their childhood and really step into their true genius. And we do it with 8 different coaching modalities, from NLP to somatic to energy work. And it is so fulfilling to give that hope and inspiration. What I love about it the most is being able to support our clients and their clients, and that ripple effect of people understanding that the answers are inside of themselves. You have your intuition who will always guide you, and that you can uncover and step into how source sees you. So that's what I love about what I do.
Just that? That's all you do? Just
that.
Really?
That's too big.
Wow, woman. No, I love when we had a pre-call, and when Jenn explained all the modalities and the way they work, it's like, ooh, this is hot. So seriously, if you're looking to get training, if you're looking for coaching and training, check out her company. We'll have all the links so you can find her. All right.
Thank you,
Tracy. So today you are very successful, very solid. You've got a beautiful business helping thousands of people. But I know you didn't start there. So I always love the journey stories. I love to bring on courageous people who share like what's real, right? Because it's one thing to look at you today and say, wow, I could never achieve what she did. She must have a golden spoon or silver spoon or whatever. And,
oh, God.
And no. So why don't you just share the story about how you got here and what you learned along the way?
Absolutely. And thank you so much. So I started out as what I think a lot of us are told to start out. Go to college, get a corporate job. So I'm lucky. I live in the sense, I live in Silicon Valley. So I'm in the IPO capital of the world, right? Google's 25 minutes away. Facebook's 45 minutes away. It's like I live in the Northern California, Silicon Valley. So it was expected that I would go to college, graduate, and I'd go work in corporate. And I did in my 20s. And I did okay, but I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, Therese. Probably back when I was selling Girl Scout cookies. I was always the top Girl Scout cookie, always got the best thing. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. So while I did what other people said I should do, which again, fair enough, I also started my first business in 1997. So I'm dating myself a little bit. So I started my first business in 1997. And what was really the challenge was my husband and I at the time, we were struggling with infertility. And this has a lot to do with our mindset. of what do you want in your life? So are you wanting a successful business? Are you looking to increase your wealth? Are you wanting to start a family? Are you looking for that relationship? It's what is that mindset shift? So I didn't know it in my 20s. So this is why it's the journey, right? Therese, it's like, I didn't know in my 20s what was calling inside of me. I didn't know. I wish I knew. My daughters now know, who are teenagers.
Of course, because they got you. Yeah.
They're gonna do that. So I couldn't figure that part out. So we struggled with infertility. And then I had this knowing, and I didn't know to call it my intuition at the time, but I had this knowing that I knew that if I really wanted to start my family, I needed to leave the stress of corporate America. I was working at high level. I worked for a company you guys maybe have heard of called WebMD when they went public, and it was just super stressful. And so I just made a decision. I didn't know at the time, it was my intuition, that I was going to leave corporate America and go full time into starting my business. Well, 2 months later, I got pregnant. So I didn't know. And it really was a miracle. Both of my girls are miracles. And it was because I started following what I knew coming from inside of me.
Yes. But you didn't know what it was, but somehow you shifted into following it.
Exactly. I didn't know to label it at the time.
Yes.
Now I definitely can label it. I teach. So I was like, wow. Well, my husband and I at the time were very like, he's in law enforcement and I was working in corporate. So that was like 50% of our income when I decided to quit. So we struggled a little bit there, money wise and, whatnot. Yet I knew what the part of me that called me to do that, that's what I wanted to do. So I then went full time into my entrepreneurial journey, which was lovely. I loved it. I did a bunch of different things. And I started realizing that when you are stepping into what feels good, which not a lot of people who tell you to do things in your life tell you to do things that feel good. Yet that's the key, ladies and gentlemen.
Pause this one. Yeah, there you go.
Feels good. Then your life starts aligning. Things start happening more and more and more. So then I was like, okay, great. So I did corporate. So I left corporate. I'm doing full-time entrepreneurship. Yet I had a mindset still, and I didn't know about my intuition. I had a mindset still that I couldn't be an entrepreneur and sustain a family. So my husband had a job. Right. So I was like, I always kind of thought, well, okay, I'll make $10,000 one month and $2,000 the next month.
So it goes,
next month, and then $12,000 next month, and then everything is fine. But I didn't have the trust in myself and the belief in myself that if I was to truly be an entrepreneur. So what happens is I became a business coach because I did create a very successful multiple six-figure business. So I did know what I was, but then we fall into that trap of what we spend more than we make. Right. So I had these business clients that would come to me and they would say, Jenn, I want to do this. And I'd be like, okay, this is what you need to do. I've been in corporate. I've created multiple six figures in my business. These are your steps. They wouldn't do it. I'm like, why are you not doing what I'm telling you to do? So I didn't understand at this point in my journey about mindset and my intuition. I was baffled. I'm like, I've told you what
it seems so logical, right?
Showed you it works. Why are you not doing it? So I did that for a while, and I'm like, you guys are paying me a lot of money to help you, and they never blamed. I mean, it was all
right. They took
my business, and I'm like, okay, great. Then I found mindset work and energy work and intuition, and I found it by accident. In the sense of I had a really, really good friend, and my business was growing and I needed help. So I posted a thing on Facebook, and this was years ago though. So it's like 10 years ago. So I posted a thing on Facebook and I was like, hey, I'm looking for someone to do like to support me in my business. Well, she comes back and applies for the job. And I'm like, girl, you are way overqualified. And I can't pay you what you would really need. I'm like, I was looking more, entry level. And she taught, and she started me on this journey. She taught me this one thing she said, currency comes in many different forms. She was not looking for this
The cash,
equal cash. She says, look, I'm leaving corporate America just like you did, Jenn. And I'm starting my own business just like you did, Jenn. And I need a transition. And I started understanding. And then the business that she created is she does energy work and intuition work. And that was part of the arrangement, is she started helping me develop my intuition. It was the most, and we are still friends to this day. Actually, I was talking with her yesterday. We've created this beautiful symbiotic relationship between my corporate and her work. So she introduced me to my intuition. She was like, Jenn, all of these things that you've been talking to, and all of these decisions that you've moved forward has been what we call your intuition. And it was the most beautiful thing to start learning about that. Then I started understanding. So first of all, you have to discover you have one. So some of you on this call, especially if you with Therese, you already know you've got an intuition. It's all you're already past that step. The next step is, how do you communicate?
Hold on, let's break it down a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
So what I always know, Jenn, is that people get confused because let's say they're gonna because when you say you should do something that makes you happy, but in the beginning, you're also going to hear the voices of like, holy shit, who do you think you are? So we got to talk about, that's not intuition. Let's parse out what's intuition and what's the fear voices. Let's go there. And then
Perfect. Love it. Love it. This is my favorite thing. We actually call it 4 voices in our company. And it's one of the most favorite meditations that we do. And I'm going to give a gift to all of your audience and these meditations that'll support them in doing what we're talking about today. So don't worry, you guys, you're all going to be able to do this at the end with the free gift. So beautiful. So we call it the 4 voices. So you have your 3 voices that are your inner critic, your inner child, and your inner ego. Those are the 3 voices, or what you would call like the fear voices. Those are the voices that have a very specific and beautiful, wonderful purpose. What a lot of us don't understand, and what I didn't understand until I started doing this work, is that I was thinking that I needed to shush them up. I needed to give them and lock them in a cage in the back of my brain and tell them don't talk.
Something's wrong with them, right?
That's the back. But no, ladies and gentlemen, that's part of you. So what they are, what those voices are, is warning signs. It's your gaslight coming on. It's the battery going out in your smoke detector. It's saying, hello here. There's something for you to learn. Once you have the learnings, and the learnings come from your intuition, I'll talk about that in 1 second. Once you have the learnings, they will quiet. You're not mean to them because they're part of you. You just find out they're here to tell you something. So what are their jobs? So your inner ego's job is to protect that identity that you've created for yourself, whether it's serving you or not. That's the key. Your intuition will tell you if that identity is serving you or not. Your ego is going to defend it one way or the other. But my identity at the time that I was holding on in my story was, I am a cop's wife. I'm married for 25 years. I am an entrepreneur. I have to work in corporate America. Like, I created these identities, but they weren't, and my ego is going to defend it. Well, your inner critic is going to keep you where you're at because it knows how to deal with those problems.
You're safe right here. You're safe in their little box. It knows how to navigate you, right?
Because it knows what's going on with you there. Then your inner child is hurt and sad because it is trying to express the suppressed identities of your true self that you've suppressed once you started growing up.
I got goosebumps on that one. That's a good one. That's
their jobs.
So when you, let's just say that's like, so if you, let's say I want to reach out to you, Jenn, and say, hey, can we collaborate? Can you share something of my work? Right. JV partner thing. Yes. And I wake up and I'm like, oh God, but who am I? She's got a bigger business and she's not going to accept me, just like my mama didn't accept. I'm making this stuff up, but like that would be an inner critic. I just want to make it more
the
clear.
Inner critic, yes, is
an inner child.
Not good enough.
Yeah, your inner child would be,
Your inner child is more like, well, what if she rejects me?
Right.
What if she
Right.
hurts my feelings?
Right.
What if,
Right.
and then your ego, your inner ego. So there's there's a big E and a little E. So we're talking little E, inner ego. Your inner ego would be very rigid in what you would want to talk about instead of, and so sometimes your inner ego will give you that false sense of confidence. So maybe your inner ego will be like, well, yes, she might have a better business than me, yet I am this. And then you come in to the conversation a little like like a little
rigid,
rigid versus, and so that would be your inner ego. Your inner ego can give you confidence, but it doesn't hold because
beautiful.
The ego or the inner critic and the inner child will tear it down. So if you have fear and you have this, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, my business isn't good enough, that's inner critic. Your inner child wants to keep you it doesn't want to get hurt.
Yeah.
Because when you were expressing yourself when you were younger and stepping into your true genius, that's where the world, your environment compressed you and you started suppressing that version of you. Well, it wants out. And how you get the answers, which is the learnings. So now let's define learning. So when your inner critic says that to you, Jen's business is bigger than mine, and I know we were we're just using as an example, or, I'm nervous about reaching out to them. You then get the learnings. So what are learnings? Learnings are positive about you and qualities and characteristics you can take into the future. So what does that look like? So you ask your intuition. Your intuition is always kind, always gentle, which I'll talk about in a minute, but it's always kind, and it will tell you, it will translate what these other three voices are trying to get you to hear. So if you've got this fear or this, I'm not good enough, or my business isn't great, who am I? I think you use. You ask your intuition, well, what do I have to learn? The learnings of which will allow me to step into that space.
Right. Nice.
And then your intuition will say, well, Therese, you are professional, you are skilled, you are intuitive, you are energetic, you're compassionate, you're empathetic, you're strong, you're brave. Well, what happens is you have to develop listening, trusting when your intuition is talking to you. Because these other three voices, they come out, they're like bulls in a china shop.
At 100%. And they're going to be often for most of us, and unless you're trained, they're the first things we hear, right? For you and I,
things I hear sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, you and I, we're like, the intuition is already set, right? It's like, yep. And that's what I wanted to differentiate. Because if somebody says, I have this opportunity, but I'm having all this fear thought, obviously it's wrong. No. That's why I wanted to layer that out, because that's not true.
It's not. All negative emotions are derivatives of fear, and fear is an illusion. So there is no such thing truly. And I know people are like, but Jenn, we're living in the human experience. Yes. I'm not saying you're never going to feel, but what you're looking for is the learning to blow out the illusion. That's what we're looking for. Since it's all an illusion, fear's just an illusion, and all negative emotions are derivatives of fear. Once you get the learnings, but the next step is then you have to take the inspired action. So just because Therese gets the learning that she's powerful and strong and courageous and has a lot to value and a great leader and intuitive and magical and all this, she still sits and doesn't pick up the phone.
I fall down the hill.
So you got to discover so thank you for saying that. So you got to discover you have one, then you got to know how to communicate with it. See, hear, feel, or know your intuition, or any combination of those.
Right.
So how do you know that your intuition is talking to you? Then once you know how to communicate with it, you've got to trust it. And that's the biggest bridge, is listening and then trusting it. Because once you can truly start trusting it, then you move into inspired action, which means you bring it into the physical world. We are not a pure unconscious mind living in source. We are in these
bodies
down here into these physical bodies having a human experience. So you can't just live up there. You can't live with, oh, I have an intuition and I trust it and it's so magical and I hear it, my intuition, but then you don't do anything about it. That's another place that's where you want to bring it in the physical space. That's what I learned.
So I have multiple stories as well, right? Of the same, where you're like, I'm guided to take this action and it's crazy. It makes no sense on paper. And then boom, life changing. And so again, you and I have the luxury of lots of decades of this, of like, oh, my intuition says it's a non-negotiable. But what if somebody, like, how do we get them to tune in to like, that's, oh, hell, how, I'm supposed to leave? What? Like, how do you know, like, let's go there. Because I think a lot of people would be here.
Yes. And you're so intuitive and brilliant, because this is exactly how I teach this company. Like, you're asking the question of literally, so then people are like, okay, well, Jenn, you're so amazing. How do I do that? Because I didn't used to know how to do that. I just told you, I just kind of like did things. So there's two ways that I like to have people really tune into their intuition. And it's when you follow it and when you don't. And what you want to do. So this is the key. Your intuition is in and is part of your unconscious mind. Okay. Your conscious mind is what is out in the physical world, running the physical world. If they are running parallel, this is where you're not successful. This is where I was not successful, is they were running parallel. My conscious mind would do its own thing. My unconscious mind would do its own thing. And I had no idea. The point is to integrate them. The point is to understand, how do you integrate? That's why that's the fourth step, right? So you got to integrate your intuition. Is if they're running parallel, your conscious mind is the goal setter.
Right.
So we go out there and set goals all day long, set goals in business and health and relationships and love and spirituality and in sex. Yeah, we all got those too, right? We set these conscious goals. But if our unconscious mind isn't connected, your unconscious mind is the goal getter. It's your motivation. It's your inner voices. It's your intuition. So you set these goals consciously, but if you're not talking to your unconscious mind,
right,
you're not going to go get them, because your unconscious mind is the go-getter. So how do we, this is the answer to your question. You must bring your unconscious intuition into conscious awareness. So what does that mean? You're like, that's a lot of big words. It means, since it's unconscious, you need to bring it conscious, where you're aware in your conscious mind. So you're like, okay, how do we do this? So this is a very simple example, yet it's powerful. So my daughter is 16, going to turn 16 in a couple of weeks, not driving yet. So I'm still taking her to school. And I took my oldest daughter to school. And there's a pivotal point in our neighborhood where at a certain time of day, if you go straight, it's the fastest way to go. But if you wait after a certain amount of time, lots of traffic, so you want to turn left. You find a simple example. This is how you start. Step one. Ask your intuition. You have to be conscious about it, ladies and gentlemen. Pull up to the thing, go, do I go straight or do I go left? Don't care. Just do one. Now, if you go straight and you realize that it was easy, breezy, flowing, now this is the key. Go and consciously just go through, what did you just feel? What did you see? What did you hear? What did you know? And bring it conscious and say, oh, that I felt that. And you have to practice, you have to do this.
Yeah. Well, you have to know how to trust how the intuition's delivered. What's your experience?
Right.
So I love that you're breaking this down.
And you're bringing it conscious. So then the next day, go to school and don't follow. Your intuition says go straight, and you, or it says turn left, and you go straight, and you sit in the traffic. I want you to not listen to your intuition, because I want
small thing.
The difference.
Small thing.
I want you to know the difference, because that one, I feel it in my chest and I just know it. I'm like, I've actually done a U-turn, and I'm like, I freaking knew it. I didn't listen, and I freaking did a U-turn, and I went the other way because the traffic was so bad. You will, if you make a conscious effort to say, okay, when I get an intuitive hit and I follow it and everything works out fantastic, come back. If you're a journaler, journal about it.
Yeah, that's great.
If you're a talker, if you're an external processor, call your friend and express it. Write it down.
Just make it alive. And yeah,
you're creating neurological connections in your brain that is telling your unconscious mind and your conscious mind that they're listening to each other. So that's step one, is to go out there and, you know, don't start with, oh, should I go buy, you know, should I sell my house and move to that's not
something small, right? And, or, you know, for me, here, I'll be like, I got to go to the store to pick up X. And my intuition will say, you should probably check to see if they're still open. And the days I go, I'm sure they're open, guess what happened? So you can also reflect on the times that you knew, you know, I'm looking at swiping on that guy. I don't know. Oh, I'll give it a try. And right. Also reflect on that, because there's data points there.
There's so many people that think that they can't develop their intuition.
Oh my gosh.
It's weird that people think that. I don't understand.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, it's just this, it's like this gut feeling, this luck. No. Right now, some of you on the line are most likely listening to your other three voices about 80% of the time and your intuition about 20.
Yeah.
Our goal is to turn that upside down.
Right.
We want you only 20% of your negative voices, and they're your warning signals. They're your little, you know, what do I need to do? And then your intuition is 80%. But it doesn't just, the hourglass doesn't just flip. You've got to work it.
Right.
It's those 4 stages of learning, right? You become unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know. You're like, what? Intuition, they're not on this call.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not hanging out with me.
Consciously incompetent, which is what I'm talking about right now. Going from consciously incompetent to consciously competent. You have to understand the first word in both of those is conscious. You need to bring your awareness to when is your intuition talking to you and when are you trusting it. Then you go to unconscious competence, which is where, like you were saying, Therese, like that's when you're at the 20%, 80%, where you just know. Right. And halfway through the decision, you're already like, oh, I'm not listening. But here's the coolest thing. Number one, your intuition is always kind. Your intuition is always kind. If you hear anything that is not kind, it is not your intuition.
I love that distinction. That is so important to know. Good.
Always kind. However, your intuition is not always gentle. It will kick you on the ass, ladies and gentlemen. We call it Wanda the dead fish, literally, in our company. And we have one of our clients that actually got us a dead fish. It's like, have you felt it? It's like getting a dead fish across the face. You're like, boom. It's not always gentle, but yet it will always be kind. But here's the coolest thing. This is the metaphor that I use is it's like the GPS. There's no judgment. So here's this is what I want you guys all to hear. You cannot do it wrong.
Yeah.
Nothing you do is wrong. And whatever shame just popped up for some of you, like, well, Jenn, but you don't know this part of my story. It wasn't wrong. Right and wrong. We really want to, your intuition doesn't deal in right and wrong. Take right and wrong out of your vocabulary. That's another thing we really truly teach is take right and wrong out of your vocabulary. There is no right or wrong. It's the rocket on the way to the moon is off course 97%. It's little tweaks,
course corrections, right? Thanks.
Little tweaks, and then it gets to the destination. You're the same. So even if you realize you're going to the moon and all of a sudden you're halfway to Mars, it doesn't matter. Your intuition will course correct you back to the moon or back to your destination.
If you listen and take the right action, that's the thing.
Well,
right?
Yeah. So that's even, so yes, yet. And if you don't listen, just for some reason, you don't listen, your intuition will still course correct you. It's not that you did something wrong. It's just, you didn't get the learning. So your intuition is going to give you another situation. Learning. What is that called, ladies and gentlemen? That's called a pattern. What patterns in your life? Dating.
I was going to say, raise your hand if you've dated the same man 4 times, right?
Right. Or same fights in your relationship, which was a clue for me with my marriage. Bosses.
Mm-hmm.
So if you notice a
Mm-hmm.
pattern is your intuition working on course correcting you.
Nice.
Because it's, oh, Therese didn't get the learning over here. Let's give her another opportunity. Oh shit, dated the same guy. Didn't get what you when you get
Dang
the
it. Right. Yeah, it was really funny. At one point I'm like, I was the common denominator in all those people. Because it's really easy to go, they, he didn't. And then it was like, oh shit. Yeah. Anyway, we need to wrap up because we're getting.
I didn't get to finish my story, but so just the end of my story is I did all of the stuff that we just talked about, and now love what I do. Have a profitable, multiple 7-figure business, and just love doing all this. But so what I want them to know, the last thing I want you to know is just so you can hear the end of the story is no matter where you are now, do not care. I don't care if you're 19. I don't care if you're 74. Because we have clients at both of those ranges. Mm-hmm. The moment you decide to look inside yourself and really develop your intuition, you can instantaneously, quickly create the life that you want and know that it's all inside of you. So that's the moral of the arc of the story.
Yeah. Oh, that's magnificent.
Developing that, and it can happen quickly.
That's like the mic drop moment, right? That's the I really love that you broke that all down, because we throw terms around a lot, and I know people hear the negative voices and they get hit with a wall of fear and they don't know what it is and or how to navigate it. So Jenn, that was magnificent, the way you laid all that out. You were a brilliant teacher. So you talked about some meditations you're going to share with us. Where can folks find you? What do you have?
Okay, so what this is it's called Unlocking Your Intuition Challenge sort of thing. It's basically 22 meditations, and we don't meditate just to relax. We meditate to get learnings and develop our connection with our intuition. So you want to listen to them in order. It's like an A to Z to your to developing and trusting and taking inspired action on your intuition. So it's just a free gift. So it's super simple to get. I know it's going to be in the show notes, but I'll say it verbally here. Is you just have to text the word intuition. Go figure. Text the word intuition, and it's a real phone number. 650-402-2699. 650-402-2699. You'll get a link back, and then you'll get access to those meditations. Listen to them in order. Okay. Now, you don't have to listen to one every day. You might want to listen to one every day for like a couple of days, just to to really understand what it is. Yeah. So you don't have to do it in those 22 days, yet you will not help but transform when you come out on the other side of that. And the reason I give this gift is just a gift. I mean, not just a gift, it's powerful, is because the more people that are really learning to tap into their intuition, the higher the vibration of the world, the effect of what it does. So that's why this is just a loving, free gift for everybody here.
You are such a beautiful soul. So thank you so much for your wisdom, your exquisite teaching. And I know folks are going to want to follow you. So as I always say on this episode, think of 2 people that need to hear this story. Think of your friends. Think of the people that like, oh my God, you're so close. Listen to what Jenn says. Like, that's going to help. Think of somebody that needs to really deepen the intuition, because just that gift alone, holy hell, that is worth its weight in gold. So I want you to think about that and pass it on to somebody. You want to say anything else before we wrap up?
I just want to say thank you for this conversation. Was amazing. This is what I love to do.
Yeah.
Want to say how lucky and grateful I am that I'm here to be able to share this with your listeners. You do so much value. You have so much value to share with everyone. So it's an honor for me to be here. And I just want everyone to know your intuition is your silver bullet. Your intuition has everything that you need inside of you. And the more you can develop that one tool, everything else that you feel is not working in your life will start to come into alignment, and you'll become congruent. So with that, Therese, thank you so much for letting me share my story.
Of course.
And love this.
Thank you. All right. Peace and blessings. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Hey, I really appreciate you listening to that last episode, and I would love to get to know you a little bit more and to get to connect with you on a deeper level. And here's what I suggest. I've got a Facebook group that corresponds with the content of these podcasts. It's called Fiercely Brilliant Women in Business with Therese Skelly. So if you just search Facebook, Fiercely Brilliant with Therese Skelly, you'll find the group. It's a really nice group. It's a small group, and I'm super active in it. Each week, we have a lot of supportive conversations. I share a lot of resources. I do a lot of coaching on the spot, and I would love to have you join me there. So if you like the vibe of this podcast and you want to hang out with a pretty darn cool community of women, join us at Fiercely Brilliant on Facebook with Therese Skelly. Alrighty, peace and blessings, and I hope to see you in the group. Bye now.